22.2. Ay, 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 señores, se puso complicadito. This is a fun workout, guys. This is a fun workout. If you have done your homework, it shouldn't actually scare you a lot. If it does, then you haven't been doing CrossFit this year all that long. Gentle point there. Anyhow, let's go through the thing. So the theme of this workout, if last workout was consistency, this workout is not so much different, but the important things here are gonna be discipline and focus. This is a discipline workout and a focus workout. You can even see it in the announcement how some athletes lack their discipline and lack focus, and it gets a little bit messy. So you want to set yourself up for discipline and focus to be able to actually do that. That's very hard. So let's go over the first mindset, and then strategy, and then the individual movement. So first, the mindset. In terms of mindset, you have to set yourself your head very well. And so gather data from your previous workout. If you have done Diane recently, if you don't have done workouts with heavy volume of deadlift recently, or with heavy burpees, or with long sets of burpees recently, check those numbers out. That will give you a realistic like a realistic target, right? So this is 100 repetitions of both movements in under 10 minutes. That's a lot. And one thing to consider is that it's a little bit, the sum of the parts is a little bit harder than the parts in isolation, right? So if you have done Diane recently, the metabolic cost of a handstand push-up is not that heavy as in a burpee. It's harder as a skill and muscularly on the shoulders, of course, but metabolically it's not gonna poop you so much systemically, and it's also not gonna take you that much time. So if your Diane time is something like around 6 to 7 minutes, you can be guessing that like the round of 10 and there's a consideration there for athletes that actually the Diane weight is not the problem, it's the handstand push-ups. But if your Diane is there, you can make an educated guess on getting to the round of 10 repetitions or so on, right? Now, having that target is important so that you have realistic expectations, but different from 21.2, the previous workout, in which you actually could have kind of a time strategy and be hitting like maybe not over 2 minutes and so on. In this one, having any goal is gonna unfocus you. And remember, this is a discipline workout, because what you have to do doesn't matter, is doing the same thing, staying disciplined, and I'll talk about what that means exactly in a second. And so have the realistic things so that you're not like thinking crazy, and so that you're not like, when you get into your strategy, you're not like, I'm gonna do the set of 10 at 5, and you're like, maybe you would not even get there, right? Like, and so just so that your strategy it makes sense, but let go of where you're gonna place right away. That just unfocuses you in a workout. In what you need to is to be very focused on the movement at hand, right? Like, so that is going to be the main aspect in terms of mindset, right? Like, to have a realistic target, be like, okay, I'm gonna be around here, so that you can set up a strategy, and then let go of where you're gonna get, because all you need to be doing is to be ready to hustle and to move when you don't want to move, right? Like, that is it. Your system is gonna be very hit metabolically and so on. So now let's talk about the movements themselves, and we'll weave the strategy in that discussion. Let's start with burpees. So burpees. If you're my athlete, we have a mantra, we have a prayer that is, we don't break burpees, my friend, because burpees is like running. You can and it's just the same. People hate them in CrossFit, like, I'm a CrossFit, I love CrossFit, but I hate burpees and running. You're like, okay, well, I thought you like functional movement, nothing more functional than getting off the ground and standing up, right? Like, but anyhow, or running. Well, now I'm getting, like, preachy. Shut up, Juan. Anyhow, so we don't break burpees, and you don't have to break burpees if you pace them right. And that forces you to pace them right. And in this workout, you really, unless you're super sure you're gonna finish, in which case, you know, as I said in the previous video, good for you. Then you're gonna pace the burpees, and that just means slow and methodical. Slow and methodical. And this workout really lends itself to like be slow and methodical. And that is very easily achieved if you're thinking about the movement itself and numbering the steps and making sure that in your warm-up you're repeating the steps over and over till you know, like till you have it to pam pam pam. So fortunately, we don't need to jump out of the burpees with 2 feet, but we do need to jump over there with 2 feet. So that means that I'm gonna start here, drop myself to the ground, and then shitty push up. Step number 1, step number 2, rotate, and down. Right, like just like the box jumps the other day. So shitty push up, Spider-Man lunge, down, and that's all you need to do, right? Like you don't need to do that full turn that I did there, but you wanna number those steps. Step, step, down. Be methodical, and yeah, I'm already breathing. But in that case, in which you're being methodical, you can find the breathing pattern too. So I like to breathe at the bottom. So on. If you don't want to mess with the breathing, don't mess with the breathing, but make sure you're breathing. Right, like don't have to do it always at the same time and match it with the movement, because that's a little bit confusing. But if you can do it, but if not, just keep breathing. So the burpees, all you want to do is to be very methodical. There's really no point in jumping the 2 feet forward. There's really no point in breaking them. However, if you tend to break burpees, disregard my advice there and don't break them this time. I don't want to set you up poorly. So if you always break them. But my advice is try not to and just slow them down so that can happen. You'll be surprised of how well that works. Methodical, don't break them. So good. Let's talk deadlifts. Let me show you one thing really fast. So deadlift, I'm gonna do a set of 3. Grab that bar. If I know how to drop that barbell well, if I know how to finish that position and my setup position is solid, 3 unbroken deadlifts or 3 singles differ in that the unbroken ones are way more costly in terms of the metabolic energy that I'm putting there. So hear me out. The deadlifts is where if you already went through the burpees part, you'll know that we're not gonna break burpees. So it's all about how you're gonna break deadlifts. The vast majority, unless you have a 450 deadlift or a 310 deadlift, if you're working on RX terms, there's no reason for you to think about a set bigger than 4 or 5. And 5 is too much in my opinion. When you get to a set of 5, you're not, as you saw there, you're not saving any time really. I mean, you can, but you're not really saving any time. And the cost of doing them unbroken versus setting them up in 2-to-1 or single like I just did is too much. So when you're thinking about deadlifts, hear this out. This is a good lesson in CrossFit. When we're thinking about unbroken or not unbroken, we tend to think about the output, the time that it takes. But the output is a terrible thing to be thinking when you're making a strategy. We have to give some nuance to that. what I mean is that that's not all we can think. We have to think about the cost, what I'm gonna give in order to achieve that, right? And so, if the weight here is, if the weight for this is like above 50% or around 50%, if it's anywhere between 40 to 55%, sets of 3 or 4 makes a lot of sense. But if it's just above 50%, that gets too costly, right? Like that gets too costly. And so there's a few things. Singles are a great option if you, like I did there, have a very consistent setup position, and when you finish, you can drop and the belt lands in the right place. That's actually not easy to do, and it depends on the kind of place that you have and so on. So that's important to consider if you're thinking a single strategy, which is actually a great strategy. But consider that if you're gonna be doing sets of 2 or 3, which is what most people should be doing and it's gonna end up doing, again, a set of 5 is not gonna save you any time. It's just gonna cost you a lot more, and then you're gonna be slow as molasses on the burpees. But because you're thinking only about the output, you're not thinking about how much you have to put in. Anyhow, but if you're thinking about sets of 2 or 3, apart from a solid setup position in which you're engaging the hamstrings and you're sitting backwards so that you use your own body weight to lift the bell up, the hidden truth of a deadlift is that if you're very big and you lean a little bit backwards, suddenly you have all your body weight counterbalancing the weight in front of you, and you don't have to produce as much force. Anyhow, so solid setup position. The second thing that is gonna really help you is the finishing position, right? Like, so trying to not overextend the back, but just finish, meet the standard, right? Like hips open, knees open, but the barbell is gonna feel like it's a little bit forward than you, right? You're gonna finish here, right? Like, I'm not here, but look that my hips are still open, my legs are open, and then when I return it, I'm ready for my next rep. Now, that ending position, that finishing position is still good for your singles, right? Like, so you don't want to be dropping the bar from here. That bar is gonna go forward. It's gonna roll on your legs and it's gonna go forward. So if you're gonna do singles, you finish here, you drop, and you're trying to drop behind you so that you can go right bar for your bar. And again, the plates are gonna matter, right? Like, so once you have decided that, and I actually think that you don't have to have a breakup strategy for like all the sets. Like, how am I gonna do the 7? Don't worry. Say like, I'm gonna do sets of 2. See how I feel there. What you can control in those sets of 2 is your form, and what the other thing that you can control is your rest time. What are you gonna do? How much you're gonna rest? That's where the discipline comes from. In this workout, the trap is to be like, I'm gonna do 4, like 3, 2, 2. Because 3 to 2, you kind of can control, but then the non-moving time that you're not actually paying attention to eats you alive, right? And so you're handling the output and not the input again, right? And so have a flexible strategy in terms of how you're gonna break it. Be very fucking conservative there. Singles are totally an option as long as you know how to drop that bar. The bar is not bouncing all over the place, and your setup position is good. Meaning that if you are one of those people that the second deadlift feels a lot better than the first one, is because your setup position is a little bit off. So you will probably benefit from doing sets of 2 instead of just singles. But if not, singles are it's a very good way to go. But again, do sets of 2 or 3 or 4 depending on your experience. But then have a very clear way in which you're going to handle the breaks. Time is a great idea there. You like count 5 to 10 seconds. 10 seconds sounds like a lot when you're fresh. When you're in the middle of the thing, it's not that much. But breath is another thing, and in this workout it really helps to breath, because you're gonna hold your breath in the deadlift, you're gonna have a hard time breathing on the burpees, and so breath is a good thing. So for example, one way to do singles will be you come here, right? You can have sets of 2 breaths and so on, right? Like, just know how you're gonna respond. Again, because this is all about discipline. This is all about keeping moving. You're not gonna be wanting to do more burpees. You're gonna want to break them. You're not gonna want to pick up that barbell again. Sure, if you fuck up and you do a set of 5 and then you have 6 and 7 and your back is shot, well, that's a different story. But if you're being smart with your breakup strategy, then it becomes a matter of like, what should you be doing? Okay, 2 breaths. Grab that barbell, stay methodical on the burpees. I really want to break that burpees, but I don't. And I know what's next. Down, step, Spider-Man, shit, push up, right? Like, so it's just it's a workout that really rewards discipline. It really rewards grit and hustle. Now, I think that covers strategy in the general sense. Make sure you read the standards for the burpees, right? Like, make sure you read the standards for the burpees. I mean, if you're posting a score. Last thing, have that minute strategy ready. Have that minute strategy ready. It's gonna either find you on a set of deadlifts, it's gonna either find you on a set of burpees. How are you going to respond to that? Here's what I'm going to tell you, is that when you have 30 seconds left, you do not quit any rep. You do not stop until that fucking clock says you don't. Because in those last seconds, it's gonna be very easy to give up reps that you shouldn't, right? And so have that set in that mindset, right? That tool in your head. Okay, that is it. This is a simple workout. Let me review. Methodical on the burpees. Watching your breathing, and don't break them unless you're super used to that, in which case go ahead and break them, but you shouldn't. Just space them, just slow them down so that you don't have to break them. You don't need to go fast on burpees. You do not need to go fast on burpees. On deadlifts, be extra conservative with the breakup scheme. As you saw there, if you do things with just a tiny bit of brain, a set of 5 unbroken is not very different than a set of 5 singles, right? With the thing that a set of 5 unbroken, you're adding 5 negative repetitions versus a set of singles in which is just the positive aspect of the lift. It's like, it's a clear winner there, right? And so it's only worth it if you are an elite athlete and you really can go through the whole thing and hustle it, like if you really can speed it up, right? And so if you have that metabolic juice, but if not, break them conservatively, very conservatively, and have a very clear strategy for breaks. That is actually what matters. What are you going to do with your rest time? Focus on finishing and in setup position and ending position. Those are the things that matters in terms of form. And then that's it. Be ready to hustle. Make sure that like you are ready in your mindset to express your discipline. This is a workout that is gonna let you express that discipline. You're gonna be the athlete that is gonna stay like a fucking rower doing it, grinding at it. If you find yourself doing this, because you maybe inadvertently push it too hard, but you're not gonna let yourself do that. You're gonna stand tall, breathe, and you're gonna breathe in during the deadlifts, because you're gonna break them no matter what. And so manage your breaks. Be ready to give your brain something to do when you're breathing. You give a brain very clear instructions of how to attack it, and those are things that you can control. The 3, 3, 4, 5, 5. What am I gonna do in the set of 6 is bullshit. Like, that doesn't matter, right? That is it. this is like kill it, man. Like this is how bad you want it. Period. And how smart you are. Measure those two things. Stay disciplined. Stay focused.